YouTube? We got a video from ZackLillipad, and essentially MultiVersus, how to not save this game. And we have a wonderful view of the name of Wickham's asking, did they ever shut it down? And I just hit my mic. Anyways, the answer is, kinda, yeah. Essentially, you can play it offline. Wickham's. To answer your question, they did, but you can play it offline. So, yes. Essentially, it's not getting any support. You can only offline play. The servers are gone. And I believe the servers recently got, knocked out. Regardless, see right here. Oh, yeah, they're talking about the beta stuff. Okay. Anyways, let's just start the video. ZackLillipad.
About
here we go.
A year and a half ago, I made a video titled "MultiVersus."
How we good? Sound? Sound-wise good? Yeah, it looks like it.
The history of
Beautiful.
The MultiVersus open beta.
And have to raise the volume. Let me know. It's the couch game. Yeah, basically. At least they did that.
In the 18 months since that video,
sound good though? I think it sounds good. I think we're good. Here, let me do this actually. Here, let me do this as well. I always forget. I think I forgot to do this before. Let's turn on subtitles for you guys. Here we go. So now you guys can read them.
Video titled "MultiVersus: What
Here we
Went
go.
Wrong,"
Sounds fine. Good.
I detailed the history
So yeah,
of the
you talk about the open beta and what wrong with it. And I feel like a big thing they did too. Here's something too, dude. I could talk about all this crap here because on top of not only did MultiVersus fail in the end, a lot of it was due to themselves. Here's the thing. So the open beta came out. Amazing. Everything was cool. The game fully released. They changed the physics. If I recall, the game was really heavy. It felt more like a melee, right? Then it released and it felt like a brawl. And it was like, well, this sucks. And people kind of just slowly dwindled. But the final update before the game went offline, before they were finally shutting it down, they reverted the game back to its melee style. And everyone's like, whoa, that's awesome. But then they shut it down. How? What?
In the 18 months since that video, the
WB all this
Bros competitor
just
was re-released, received 5 seasons worth of content.
Yeah, it released content too.
Got shut down.
A good amount of content as well.
The game prepares for its official closure date at the end of May 2025.
End of May 2025. Yeah, so it was recent.
How we got here.
Yeah, so it just did it.
Of MultiVersus. And this
is
the story of how not.
Yeah, now we could see exactly what they say. A lot of it was just monetized heavily too.
Simple summary you need to know.
But I'm curious about what other reasons they have because I have somewhat of an idea.
2022. The game was an immediate smash hit, totaling 20 million.
It was great, and then they shut it down. That's the crazy thing too. When it released, people thought it was a beta. They said it would be here to stay as it transitioned from beta to its final version. And that didn't happen. Yeah, see, that's the thing too. People were like, "Oh, this is the game, awesome!" And then I think that also ruined them. They took it down for a whole year or two, a year and a half maybe. I don't know exactly the length of time, but it was out in beta. People were loving it. Again, felt great. Took it off. Comes back. Different mechanics, everything. I think the time that it took for it to come back was also its downfall because everyone knew MultiVersus. People forgot about it because, it's been offline for a year. You could still play it. You could still play it how you could play it now, offline only. But it wasn't in the zeitgeist. People weren't playing it. There's no updates. There's nothing. So people forget. This is why consistency and YouTube and all that stuff is super important. Because if you don't upload for a year, people are going to forget about you. Same premise here.
The open beta saw a steadily declining player
Same
count
premise.
that eventually hit numbers so low, it wasn't sustainable to keep the game online anymore.
It wasn't sustainable because people started leaving. But
MultiVersus beta would
ultimately, I feel like that helped kill it. When it came back, it was hype for a week maybe.
The beta was officially shut down on June 25th, 2023. And it was unclear at that time
2023. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. It's been that long.
We didn't get any definitive.
So I remember I was hyped myself. I played it a bunch. I was up there on the leaderboards.
Extremely quiet, and some worried the game may not come back at all. It seemed as though the team had fallen behind schedule. That's the thing, we didn't know. A McDonald's collaboration in
that ever come out?
MultiVersus themed toys were given out in Happy Meals, despite the game being completely offline at that time.
Oh wow,
yes, that actually happened. Finally, though,
that's new news
in March 2024 with a trailer titled
Yeah, so it took a year for big news.
It was here that we got new insight into the long wait.
Just move this so I could actually
Wynn describes it, the game was totally rebuilt from the ground up.
Those guys are cool too, the Tony Wynn and all them. I love those dudes. They're great dudes, in the fighting game community and stuff. They're love. I actually saw them at Evo and stuff. I met a bunch of these guys. Really cool, very talkative about, and they love their craft. It's just Unfortunate, man.
Single player experience. With all of this
like they care, they know. This game got rollback, so they know.
More understandable, and everything they talked about was pretty compelling. As we got closer to launch, fan excitement remained high, but some started to notice a major
I'm genuinely curious.
Concern. On April
There's a point of concern, huh? Oh, they're going to talk about like how it looked. Is it the netcode?
Meant to highlight their new netcode, but this thread was quickly overrun.
Indicates the state after rollback has happened.
One of the tweets showcased a full match being played out, and the game looked incredibly slow. It was so bad
they changed
that
it.
Many
like I said, they made it very floaty.
The video had been uploaded in slow motion. When comparing this footage to the MultiVersus,
which was a lot faster in Melee
speed, the game was almost unrecognizable.
Like I said, that also threw me off too.
Fighting fans hate. It's a slow game.
Slow, floaty game.
Pretty concerning.
Melee is very popular for a reason. And it seemed like they were going that direction until they weren't.
The character movements, something MultiVersus has admitted to doing in the past.
Like, let me tell you, in the beta, I was a combo fiend because it was just so fast paced. I was just able to just like do boop. Beta comes out, and the problem is as well like DI is a thing, so directional input. So like. Before, when you hit somebody, it was kind of easier to combo because like they couldn't really like input out of the the string. But when it came out slower, it was so much easier for people just to pop out of combos, and it just made the game just feel very sluggish because of that.
Or
as well.
A brand new speed for the game. For the time being, they were able to direct attention away from this.
It's crazy, man.
As the rest of the pre-launch marketing,
this is truly nuts.
They further detailed their.
I love that's literally just the stream meme at this point. That's nuts.
Pretty in-depth experience
that's the stream meme. That's the channel meme. That's nuts.
They showed off the new
it's crazy though that they showed all these guys though.
Season 1's theme centered around iconic.
You got the Joker. You got Jason Voorhees. Like.
The core MultiVersus.
Like that's the funniest part about this to me as well. The game has all the IP to succeed. They had like all the Fortnite essentially characters. They could have went like full Fortnite basically because WB owns a lot. But no, it still died. It still died. It still died.
Wait to jump back in, and newcomers seemed very
I don't know. I feel like a lot of times people just think throw IPs in there it'll succeed, but.
MultiVersus finally returned on May 28th, 2024.
Did that game went too far with monetization? Exactly, that as well. See, here's the thing. Talking about monetization, I don't think it ever bugged me because, so here's the thing. I was a sucker. And let me actually talk about this because this is interesting. I was a sucker, dude. So when the beta was out, I bought, I think it was like $60, $70. I bought the package for like the Founders Pack. Like I got the Founders Pack, right? I believe I got the Deluxe Founders Pack. I actually don't know how much it was exactly. But essentially, so when the game released, I got character tokens and I could use them on any character I wanted, right? So when the game finally came back, every new character that came out, I just owned them. So I was like, cool. Yeah, that doesn't really matter at this point. And the thing is, a lot of companies actually are good about it and will refund people when that stuff happens. Hey, John. But yeah, this time they didn't actually like refund anybody. Yeah, I was rolling y'all with Jay. The React Andy dude. Yeah, thanks.
MultiVersus saw red hot player numbers out of the gate.
Thanks for coming from YouTube, John.
100,000 concurrent players on Steam.
Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, why don't you come on the Twitch page?
Just all right, cool. One of many platforms MultiVersus was available on. But as players began React into the game, the overall response was pretty.
But so the monetization aspect didn't really matter to me because essentially I had all the currency, I had like all the characters that I could get, so it didn't really bug me. But the fact that that wasn't offered to people that, like later on, okay.
Acceptable, especially when playing in 2v2s, which was marketed.
But I know that it was an issue for a while.
Game mode for MultiVersus, and the overall presentation was phenomenal. Character designs, animations, and voice.
The game looks great, like
top notch. Unfortunately,
I think aesthetically and everything, I kind of mess with it heavy. But the slowness.
MultiVersus was littered with microtransactions.
The gameplay itself got slow.
For example, new characters needed to be unlocked with fighter tokens, in-game currency, or Gleamium, the premium currency.
Marvin, dude, Marvin was wonderful.
As you may imagine, fighter tokens were a bit tough to come by. It could take you tens
fighter
of
tokens were hard to come by, but it was easy for me because I bought the pack before release. This is the thing I'm talking about, man.
Speed up the process, such as completing completing challenges or playing the Rift mode, but it was still pretty slow.
Yeah, the Rift mode and stuff was definitely. With a game mode. You know what? Yeah, that Rift mode was terrible. That Rift mode, absolutely terrible. You would have to replay that multiple times to even like get the points and stuff.
They may not be interested in just to unlock a new character is understandably frustrating. What made this
you have to do it multiple times. That's the problem.
That locked characters were not even playable in offline local play.
So you could play offline with
in a hypothetical scenario where
so if you didn't own the character,
MultiVersus player
I think that helped me. That helped me when they finally let that happen and let me decide and pick and choose who I wanted to unlock with my coins.
They would only be able
with
to
my
use
tokens.
a couple different characters, and with no way to unlock these characters,
had cool gimmicks too. Like Finn buying, exactly. That was such a cool gimmick. Finn buying items.
Play, a pretty pivotal element. For
this game's great. It's just like
for those who
they went about it all wrong. Monetization wise, high key.
Extremely tedious.
I'm gonna say this. I think this is one of those awkward. I know I'm pausing a lot. My apologies, but I feel like this is one of those like weird, awkward situations where if this game was paid, that like high key, it probably would have been all right. I think if this wasn't like a free to play and this was actually paid, it might have done well. To like drop a lot of the monetization aspects of it, like trying to like just, get all the whales. And I think it would have been fine. I think this is like a big thing that could have actually helped the game. Now, here's the thing. The Nicktoons version of Smash Brothers, if that was free to play, I think it would have done better. I think those games didn't really hit as hard because they were paid. But something like this, I feel like it could have worked out. It was paid with free skins, it would have been better. Yeah, something like that. And you're saying, John, bugs will outrun. Yeah. Talking about Finn. Yeah, exactly. I think this game was paid, it would have done better. It has all the IP and stuff too, so like it could have easily been supported for a while.
Even when min-maxing the most optimal ways to earn currency.
Batman Who Laughs was awesome.
It's obvious that this was done on purpose to force
I was thinking drop 20 for it. Yeah. I was able to get that for free essentially. Actually, I recall I actually did end up getting that skin
early on. It was an extremely off-putting first impression.
Because it was on like its yellow currency. Like that's how you're supposed to get that one.
The damage this progression system did to MultiVersus was most certainly not worth whatever extra money they might have made.
Yellow currency, I just earned that crap.
Transaction issues aside, the final release for MultiVersus,
that's also the thing. There's multiple currency systems. I feel like that was also very confusing.
Ranked mode was missing, something that was especially frustrating.
Yeah, ranked mode is definitely important for a fighting game.
The entire beta,
the beta there's ranked
mode, and it took forever to come out.
Okay, so they did have one.
Released, it was totally broken. To see
broken.
Mode still
they're supporting peer-to-peer lobbies. I believe it's offline only. I don't think it's peer-to-peer. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
But extremely disappointing.
But you could easily like parsec, so it's not like the worst,
Leaderboards had mysteriously disappeared as well.
What you want us to bring this game back? Hey yo, if you're watching this video. This is to you. If you're watching this video on YouTube, come to my stream. Maybe we'll play MultiVersus together. Parsec. Let's all go. Let's make this game all about it. Let's come on.
And the beta itself. Additionally, the
I might actually use some Parsec lobbies if people are actually down for that. That sounds hype.
Sequence of challenges and missions granting rewards as you complete.
All right, cool.
As a part of Rift mode, you would have upgradable gems. Equipping gems increases your stats.
That's the funny thing too. Gems reminds me of like Street Fighter X Tekken too. Like that's like a weird thing that they added because people hated gems in Street Fighter X Tekken and stuff like that. So like what?
Getting your gems to
pay to win
level was an extremely tedious.
Do you pay to win or like level up?
Of course, you wanted to spend Gleamium to level them up faster. Once you did reach the necessary
Rain Dog was the OC. So yeah,
by playing these same missions over and over.
I remember everyone's like, "Where's Rain Dog from MultiVersus, my guy?"
Extremely frustrating. It was that terrible kind of difficulty where instead of finding a unique way to make something
sort of a gimmick, they just
make the enemy character ridiculously powerful
Gotcha.
or nearly invincible. Another big
Gotcha.
complaint
I don't think I
had was
ever had that issue because I guess I didn't really go that hard into the paint.
Including challenges that required
they wanted to sell plushies, yeah, for sure.
This was pretty annoying since it was
looking forward to more OC stuff, but yeah, I don't think they ever did either, John.
A perfect representation of everything wrong with the day one launch of MultiVersus. You can see the good idea.
This is just interesting though, because it's just like, dude, this game really just like you can see it just slowly
microtransaction baiting elements. My overall
So I feel like my
conclusion of the
consensus for the
final
most part
release
has been
of
pretty correct on like
MultiVersus is
why
that
it's
it was
dying.
fine, but with some big glaring problems.
Yeah.
For a player like myself who had invested a lot of time into
I
the
invested
beta and
a
really
little
enjoyed
bit into
the
this
game,
too,
I
so
was able to overlook
it is really
and
sad.
keep playing.
But like to
for
the
a
average
brand
player,
new
they probably
player,
just pop
there
out.
wasn't much reason to
Which is
stick
what he just said,
around.
yeah.
And so it's not all too surprising that the
You didn't like the
player count
outlines?
began to
Yeah,
drop,
I can understand
just
that,
like
but
it
I
had during the beta. By June
obviously the outlines are there for clarity, and I don't know if there were settings to like lessen that a little bit. There might have been, but obviously the outlines are there to just for like visual clarity. But yeah, they are pretty like deep rooted into there, so I can understand that. Skins like Batman Who Laughs, it just sticks out. Yeah, for sure,
the
for sure.
Steam player count had already seen
Seems
a
odd.
50% decrease, with the peak concurrent player
50%
count
decrease
being
is
around
crazy, bro. A lot of games are
54,000.
dying
It
like
is
that too.
important
It's
to
very
reiterate
sad.
that MultiVersus was available on other platforms. So while people love bringing up Steam
Yeah, that's true.
numbers because
Like,
it's the
don't
most
just bring up
easily
Steam
accessible,
numbers.
it doesn't always tell the full story. For example, Circana reported in June 2024 that MultiVersus was the 7th most played game on PlayStation 5 that month, which is no easy task. So while numbers had
Okay,
gone
maybe it
down
might be a
bit,
longer stream.
MultiVersus was still holding on quite well.
Plans
in
might have
its
changed.
first full
Your net
month
algorithm's
on the
got you.
market. The question now is going to be, how will player-first games keep their audience engaged
Okay.
and coming back?
Yeah, I
To
don't know what
start,
they did
had
though.
The typical new
Obviously, you got like
characters
Samurai
and
Jack
maps
and
with
stuff.
some great additions.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing though too. It's like I think they try to like get people back with like characters, and some of these like characters like for instance, I don't know if they ever had a Rowdy Rough Boys skin for the Powerpuff Girls. Here's the thing. You would think I'd come back for Samurai Jack. You'd think I'd come back for Powerpuff Girls and stuff like that. I didn't come back because I think all the monetization practices and all that stuff just kind of made me like ick on the game. Like just trying to do rips over and over again was like a big thing. Hey, welcome back, Wickums. And adding all these characters and stuff did not entice me to come back, which is very sad because as a kid, I loved watching Samurai Jack. I loved watching the Powerpuff Girls. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that didn't even bring me back, I feel like it just says a lot.
Samurai Jack. They also added ranked mode, which actually worked correctly this time around and was
so they
nice
added ranked.
Finally,
this is when they finally added ranked. That's crazy. That took way too long. They needed to update more consistently for sure then.
And riffs significantly.
I'll show you. See, here's the thing too. That is hilarious. Apparently they reworked all this stuff, but I didn't know that because that wasn't advertised very heavy. I never came back because new characters were always monetized. Yeah, if the characters were free, that would have been fine. Yeah, that's the other thing though. That's what I'm saying, man. Like it didn't matter for me because I could have gotten them easily with my character tokens. You came back because I forgot. Yeah, no, of course, John. Yeah, like there's that, and I could have played them myself because I had the character tokens. I talked about how I was a sucker, but it's just nah. The thing is, they even advertised that they redid the rips and stuff, so it probably would have been easier to get them.
There is no doubt that this was a fantastic first major update to the game.
Okay, so they got a good update then, I guess.
A much-needed ranked mode, and they listened to player feedback.
They'll listen to player feedback, but
and riffs.
how many players were left at that point?
More than that. But
that's the real question.
Player count continued to decline rapidly, with a peak concurrent player count of just 14,000 in July 2024.
That sounds like a lot too.
However, before we continue on with that topic, an important event occurred in this same month. It was announced that WB Games would be acquiring Player First Games, officially making
so WB bought Player First?
At the time, it was unclear how to
that wasn't the case?
On the one hand, it seemed to imply that Warner Brothers was happy with the performance of
that sounds like a good thing.
At the very least, saw some future there. Why else would you invest money into buying
I'm glad they decided to listen to all the 10 players that were left. Thank you, Wickums, for that amazing insight.
On the other hand, WB has been a terribly run company recently, not only with their games,
yeah, WB has been really bad. Dude, WB is throwing, bro. They are throwing. Because, look, they killed MK1 as well, actually. Because there was supposed to be another DLC for Mortal Kombat 1 that did not happen. That got canceled. There was rumors of it getting canceled, but it became official not that long ago. Here's the thing. So DLC 2 ended in like a cliffhanger section. So they're like, of course there's gonna be a third one. Yeah, no, that didn't even happen. Like the thing is too, it's funny because Ed Boon himself said MK1's gonna be supported for 10 years. Did not happen, got canceled. I don't blame Ed Boon. Nobody should blame Ed Boon. That's what Ed Boon thought was gonna happen. But obviously, publishers take reign over developers and a lot of these decisions. Henceforth, MK1 died. but I feel like MK1 was just getting on the upswing. Like it started out, people were like not really feeling it. I played it a little bit. I thought it was okay. I stopped playing. I might have came back if they would have actually like kept going, because high key, again, it was on the upswing. People were kind of feeling MK1 now from the changes they made, but now it's dead in the water and it's gonna have a Switch release with all the DLC. It's just like, bruh.
Of media. So fans weren't thrilled at the idea of
Well, I said Switch release, but I think it's gonna have like a full, like a whole new game being released in general. That's my bad. But it's gonna come out just all together with all the DLC.
Full ownership.
So it's gonna get re-released.
Personally, I wasn't too concerned about.
And that's how you know the game's dead. When it's getting that re-release with all DLC.
Already had a whole lot of.
Yeah, WB's been doing a bad job, so I could understand them like killing this like that too.
I did feel like them going out of their way to purchase.
I've been kind of tanks, I guess.
Somewhat.
I guess I've been kind of in. No, you're actually wrong, John. I feel like you're 100% wrong. Fighting games recently have been on the up and up. There's been a lot of stuff happening with fighting games. What you don't know, John, is literally. So, yeah, Tekken's pretty great. Yeah, and then season 2 happened in it. But no, John. So here's the thing with fighting games, actually. So there's this podcast that I listened to, right, called Triple KO. They were a fighting game podcast. They started that podcast when fighting games were tanking, when there was nothing in fighting games. Now, recently, they're canceling the podcast. And that's because there's just too much fighting game stuff happening. There's too much fighting game news going on. They can't keep up with it all without, like, being detrimental to their own channels. Henceforth, they're going to come back to the podcast whenever they have time to, or when something like actually huge happens again, which is probably going to be somewhat often, because fighting games right now are actually kind of killing it. It's just WB in itself that's just being really poor to their franchises.
Good sign. It was clear MultiVersus was going to need some time to reach its full potential, and I hope that this acquisition signaled Warner Brothers' willingness to support that. We would have to wait and see what exactly this acquisition meant for MultiVersus.
Again, this acquisition actually kind of bodes very poorly, actually. You'd think it would sound good, but again, it's WB. Like,
the final release was following the exact
and that Tekken's Bandai as well. Tekken's Bandai Namco. We talked about that in the last video, actually.
They were going to need to figure something out.
Oh, Bandai Namco is doing great.
Did come in season 3 with the release.
Yeah,
of Power.
I'd imagine that boosts people. Like, ooh,
the biggest splash MultiVersus.
Yeah, people love Power of Girls. I love Power of Girls.
Unfortunately, that addition was quickly overshadowed by an absurd 0 to death infinite move when using one of their perks.
Of course, they got an infinite. Resident Evil vs. Capcom. Hey, you want to see a motherfucking infinite? Dude, there's no way Power of Girls got an infinite, bro. Chemical X. That's nuts. That is hilarious. Imagine getting beat down by a bunch of kindergartners like to 0 to death. Sad.
But the damage was already done.
Yeah, that made people leave.
Going viral. It may not seem like that big of a deal, right?
Yeah, people don't know that they took it out as well.
But it was just one of the many examples where the developers could not get out of their own way. It felt like every time they did something good, like a new character that had people excited,
they do have Rowdy Rough Boys. Hold up.
Every time they did something good, like a new character that had...
It is the Rowdy Rough Boys. I would have got back on the game if I would have seen this. I didn't know. Rowdy Rough Boys are the coolest.
Excited. There was always something alongside it that turned the conversation in the
Now, if they made a Rowdy Rough Boys show, maybe I'd watch it.
So many people saw the game as a joke or something not worth playing. Obviously, mistakes
I don't watch Power of Girls, but I watched the Rowdy Rough Boys.
But at a certain point, it just becomes
everyone's like, "What the hell? What are you talking about, Mickey?" Like, it's not even that popular of an episode. It was my favorite episode because it was funny.
Potential new players unlikely to ever give the game a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Potential new players see that they don't know. This is the thing I'm talking about, dude. The reputation was already dead, so them doing all these like big fixes, like weren't advertised. People just didn't know, and that kind of like killed it. I feel like LeBron making the game didn't help with the joke thing. Yeah, that as well. Like that probably also made people go. But also keep in mind, it's not really LeBron James. It's fictional LeBron James from Space Jam. So because like here's the thing, you could say that for like City of the Wolves as well, like Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves that recently came out. They added Ronaldinho and Oh wait, no, they didn't. Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm stupid. They added Ronaldo, right? Oh no, I was right. They added Cristiano Ronaldo, and then they added this other guy. Forgot what his name was. Salvador. Yeah, Salvador. He's like a DJ, like a real life DJ. But the thing is, people, it's funny because people hated that DJ character because he's like, oh, what a real life DJ, right? And people are loving him now because they put his character into the game. Like in his music videos, he's a character. So they put his character into the game, not necessarily he himself. Whereas with Cristiano Ronaldo, they just put Ronaldo in the game. And it's just kind of like, people don't care about Ronaldo. You would think that that would be the bigger draw, but no, the DJ with a bunch of cool mystical moves hit harder than that guy. So I don't necessarily think LeBron was like that hard because, again, it wasn't necessarily LeBron. It was LeBron, the character from Space Jam. And you're saying they already had bugs, so I guess it helped with the Space Jam thing. Yeah, exactly. That Bugs Bunny and stuff as well. Yeah. I'm talking about Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Recently came out, fighting game from SNK. Yeah, they added Ronaldo. But people don't care about Ronaldo, it seems. People care about the DJ. So that's that. And then what you said, John, 100%, yeah. They have Bugs Bunny in the game, so it just helps because Toon Squad. They also added Lola into the game as well. So that's just Toon Squad stuff. That's like WB. You know? I feel like that just makes sense just logistically. Now, Ronaldo being in Fatal Fury makes zero sense. Like, I don't know what the thought process there was.
Player count hit a new low in October 20.
I guess because Fatal Fury itself isn't that popular, so they've just figured you drop a popular soccer player in there, maybe you get pushed a little extra.
24 with a peak concurrent player count of just 2,721 on Steam. This was Code Red, and with rumblings of another shutdown, Season 4 would have to be a big one.
Like the biggest thing is, I feel like the biggest thing is the reputation was already down the drain, so people didn't really know these major changes because they weren't being pushed these changes into them. Like right here, apparently they have a new thing called Fighter Road, where you're in progress, turn into fighter, one fighter at a time. You get XP, and then you could unlock and play the new fighter. So apparently they made this easier to get new fighters. And like John said, I wouldn't even hop back on because I knew I couldn't play the new fighter. Apparently they made it easier to play the new fighter, but John didn't know that. I didn't know that. You didn't know that because this wasn't advertised.
Form of Fighter's Road, a new way to unlock characters. This was marketed as a way to streamline the process and
we didn't know
things easier. In reality, it kind of did the opposite. The previous fighter token
apparently made it harder though, which is funny.
It worked fine. It allowed you to unlock any character you wanted once you saved.
But we would have had the illusion.
Whereas the Fighter's Road
we would have had the illusion
locked you on a track, potentially forcing you to unlock multiple characters along the way that you didn't even care about.
Okay, so you would have to unlock things before. You still have to unlock everybody that way though.
System was technically slightly faster, but again,
so it was faster, but
speed gets offset by the fact
that you have to unlock other guys.
The whole track to reach
that makes sense.
Really wanted. This became especially troublesome when the newest characters were being added to the
because then they'd probably be at the end of the fighter track.
If a new player wanted to hop into MultiVersus to check out the recently released fighter they were really excited
that's bad.
They would be unable to do so without
until they unlock the other characters beforehand. So that means if you're a new player, you'd have to unlock everybody else.
Raven from Teen Titans as an example.
I forgot they added Raven from Teen Titans, bro.
And due to her popularity, a lot of people were pretty stoked about this addition.
Yeah.
I found this old thread from the Teen Titans
subreddit. They wanted to play as her, of course. People love Raven.
As you can see, their community.
That's all I'm gonna say. People love Raven.
There were several comments asking about what MultiVersus
some weird, some not weird, but some people love Raven.
People said they were going to download the game and give it
a
chance
Raid Boss, what's up, homie?
Simply because they wanted to use Raven. This is the
I mean, here, John, I already explained that this game is offline.
Exact thing that MultiVersus.
You can only play this game offline. You can't play this game online anymore. So it's like local. So we would have to do like Parsec. That's the only way we could play this again.
Be met with a roadblock.
Yeah.
In order to play as Raven, they would need to go through the entire server's grind or take out their credit card. It's pretty unlikely that a brand new player
totally did Raid Boss. Totally did.
MultiVersus is going to want to do either of those things.
Very money hungry.
Able to unlock the character you want within a
Is it still monetized? I don't believe so. I'm pretty sure like everything that's offline is unlocked. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they did that because I feel like if that wasn't the case, I would hear a lot of backlash. Regardless, he might say this later in the video if it is or isn't, but odds are it's not. I don't see any reason why it would be.
They like the game is pretty unrealistic. It's fair to assume that
maybe like you can't get all the skins. Maybe that's a thing, but all the characters should be there. You know, which is all that really matters.
Who went to download
it's possible all the skins are just like lost media.
Figuring this out.
Like if you don't have it.
By the boost in player count in the month of Season 4's launch.
Yeah, so I got a player count boost, but the problem is it plummeted because people realized they couldn't play the character.
What Raven and Fighter's Road represented was one of the core issues.
Which was at the end. Yeah, that's ass. That's literally the reason why I can't go back into games like what's it called? Like Marvel Snap, because all of the cards that are new are like impossible to get. Oh my gosh, I keep hitting my mic. So all the new cards are like impossible to get. So I pop in with all my old cards and I get shat on and I can't do anything about it unless I either spend money to get the newer cards or I know I can't really do much. Apparently they're changing that and they're gonna make it easier, but I'm unaware and I probably won't know if they do implement it, when they implement it. So I'm probably just not going back to Marvel Snap like ever. And it's sad because I loved that game. And you say they had so much huge chance to be a platform brawler for non-Nintendo consoles and they blew it. Exactly, right, boss. Exactly. And you, Pancake, you have half of mine to pick up a new Battlefront 2. It goes on good sale. Oh, yeah. Battlefront 2 is great. The pay to win. Exactly. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. All right. Same thing with the whole Battlefront 2. A lot of people didn't play Battlefront 2 because they had bad mojo because of that pay to win aspect of it to begin with. And then they changed it. And then it became good. And I played it when it was good. The game was great after all that monetization BS. Again, if MultiVersus was a paid game and it wasn't free to play and had all of this crap, I think it would have been a banger. Estimated to have lost 100 million. That's crazy, bro. Especially Nickelodeon generated interest in there. And that's what I said. No voice acting at launch. It's funny, Ray Boss. I mentioned the Nickelodeon one, and I mentioned how if that one was free to play, like MultiVersus like this, I feel like it would have done better. Maybe less monetization. But I feel like if the Nick one was free to play and the MultiVersus was to pay,
with each
I think if that swaps,
becoming harder
it would have hit
for a new player to jump into the game. Fighters Road was actually
I could be wrong, but I feel like if it's swapped,
player who already had all the other fighters unlocked.
They're alienating their newer players, it seems, as another reason why MultiVersus died, which is crazy.
Fighters Road was an insurmountable hurdle, blocking them from whichever character inspired them.
Honestly, though, I'll say this: if you guys hop on Battlefront, I hop on Battlefront. I do own it.
In the first place. This meant MultiVersus was essentially relying entirely on its already established player base.
I loved Battlefront when it came out.
Recipe for disaster.
But yeah, the game disaster because monetization and then new players alienated.
MultiVersus nearly every day.
So this dude's still playing it.
With recent updates, but eventually
this was before it shut down.
My breaking point in December 2024.
Nickelodeon wanted like $7 for the DLC characters. Oh yeah,
the most notable.
I owned the first one. I didn't own the second one.
One being the addition of shields, which would function just like they do in Smash Brothers. This was the moment I gave up.
Yeah, they did add shields. I forgot they did add shields for this game.
Idea of shields, but because it showed me how completely
directionless
the game
was. So funny.
Ever since the
they didn't know what they wanted.
The entire game
is that what's up here?
Around dodging. The final release added.
Yeah, it was a lot of dodging, and now they add shields.
Perfectly timed to dodge. It made MultiVersus very offensive.
Yeah, I'm not Blade Brawlhalla because of that. I'm aware. Doesn't it character rotate or whatever? I want to play a character, but I can't because of the rotations, and then it costs so much to do a character. And a lot of the skins are just skins over other characters. Yeah,
movement focus.
They have WWE stuff on there. What I feel you.
Developing this system, they suddenly add
on 2v2. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who did 2v2 for this either.
Developers didn't even know what game they were trying to make.
You can still play 1v1 though. It's not like it was like only 2v2s. So I guess that's not really the worst, but yeah, I guess the focus being that a lot of the perks were 2v2 focused.
It sticks. That made
me
feel like I was wasting my time by playing it. Regardless of how you personally felt about the addition of shields, it was another example
shields is
of
weird.
player-first games introducing controversial.
They're trying to make it just more like Smash at that point.
Players without attracting anyone new. I promise you, no one.
So they alienated old players while new players didn't pop in.
Decided they wanted to play the game.
Yeah, that's true.
There were players such as myself.
Yeah, that's true. I can see that. A new player sees a shield, they probably don't care.
Or Fighters Road or whatever else.
At the most, one person
slicing off sections of their player base with each new update, while simultaneously bringing in no one new. So what came next was
what did come next?
Surprising.
Well, they do know.
January 31st.
This is when it was announced. We have an important update to share. Next season will serve as the final season. Yeah, okay, yeah, so they did.
That fans had been dreading for months. It was announced that
their own Brew 3 gameplay
serve as the final season. With MultiVersus going completely offline.
That's crazy. So they told us in January that it would die.
A few months later, on May 30th, 2025. With a peak concurrent player count of just
it took not that long, but they did say it
on Steam in the month of January, this really came as no surprise to anyone who was paying attention.
Here we go.
So, for the second time in 2 years, MultiVersus
was getting shut down.
I'm not sure we've ever seen anything quite like this before. Where
yeah, I don't think we've seen that either. Like a game shut down, come back, shut down. Possibly, maybe that's happened. If anybody knows an example, tell me down below. Tell me in the chat on Twitch. But yeah, obviously we got Concord.
And ends up being taken offline.
But that was one chance. That wasn't two chances. Now let's see how Concord comes back. If Concord comes back, this changes things.
Consider how much early hype and momentum they were able to garner during both their beta.
It's fun playing Ultra and Rivals. Yeah, I have not played Rivals. In fact, I think I uninstalled Rivals, if I'm gonna be quite honest with you, Pancake. For a few reasons. Maybe if they change a couple things, I'll come back. But right now, there's a few things that are turning me off of the game. And you say Raid Boss, I blame Warner Brothers as a whole. I actually blamed Warner Brothers earlier in this in this React Raid Boss. I totally did. There's such a consistent history. They're making instant. Yeah. I straight up Raid Boss. I straight up touched on that. Yeah, like I see Pancake. I literally touched on that earlier because it's 100% true. Yeah, WB just doesn't know what to do. They killed MK1 for sure.
Movement. It was nice to see
they're killing everything
together and show
like they're trying to focus on the wrong things.
Loved this game were. Unfortunately, the hype of this movement.
You know what? Actually, let me rotate back to the MK1 thing. All right, because what I didn't mention about MK1 was, if you don't know, MK1 was on top of the charts. And it still is consistently on top of the charts for like the most sold like PS5 games. All right. It's been on there for like a while. It keeps going on top of that chart month after month. But apparently it didn't do well enough to WB, which is why they shut it down. What's crazy to me is they spend so much money on a game. They put so much expectations on a game. The game does absolutely phenomenal, but it doesn't make the money back. Bro, spend less money making your games, bro. Holy hell.
Wouldn't last very long. As on February 25th.
No. See, that's what I was telling you too, Raid Boss. That's what I was saying too. At first it was Cheeks, but it was going on the upswing when they killed it. It was going on the upswing when they killed it. They made changes that players actually started to resonate with towards the end, and then they killed it.
It was announced that Warner Brothers would be
I'm not a Mortal Kombat fan, but
alongside
they actually started doing good things.
This was
until it died.
The final nail in the coffin for MultiVersus.
And it was selling well.
With
so
player first games disbanded, there was
crazy.
No hope for a Save MultiVersus movement, and no chance that
no Save MultiVersus movement because nobody
again. As someone who played MultiVersus for hundreds of hours,
no, this is actually insane.
The very first day it was announced, I am extremely sad to see it go. But at the same time,
it is what it is.
Obvious to see how we got.
It's like bittersweet. It's very bittersweet. It's definitely a bittersweet like ending.
Efforts on trying to find new ways to farm microtransactions rather than creating any concrete improvements to the product. Whether that was the fault of player first games,
holy
or
cow,
influence from their overlords at Warner Brothers.
Yeah, Warner Brothers did a bunch. Yeah, a lot of it definitely wasn't dev focused. I'm sure a lot of this was WB focused. We all know the free to play games need monetization. We all know the free to play games need all this. But we also all know that half the time the developers just want to make a good game, and it's the publishers that want to make the most money possible off of the consumer. So a lot of terrible decisions are just publisher bound. Somebody needs to pull their head out of their sand long enough to press the Injustice 3 button. No, I think they are going to push the Injustice 3 button, actually, Raid Boss. I think they are. But I don't know, because WB did not mention Injustice on the things they were focusing on. WB mentioned we're going to focus on these franchises, and MK was one of them. So for all we know, they're going to make another like MK after MK1, which would be absolutely crazy, because I think what NetherRealm needs is a break, and I think they do need to make a Injustice 3. In fact, there's like a huge trend of, if Mortal Kombat gets like an extra year or two to cook in between and an Injustice game is made, usually the next MK game is actually kind of banger because they use ideas that they got from Injustice and then they just like hype them up a little bit for the new MK. So that's usually how that works. And Pancake, you said there's only so much revenue you can pull in. Exactly. The more you spend, the less profit you can feasibly make. Spend enough to make a good game, but save enough to make it actually valuable. Exactly. Not only like in terms of like monetization wise, obviously they're trying to like, obviously you want to make a good game, and obviously you want people to buy the game outright, and obviously you might want people to buy a couple of microtransactions here and there, like a skin or something. But Holy crap.
Kinds of
Marketing costs as well. That's also a thing. Sometimes people spend way too much on that.
To survive. But
like,
the
no.
way they did it in MultiVersus was just unacceptable. It felt.
Do you think the loop back up to... Dude, MKX was my favorite. Here's the thing. I'm not a big Mortal Kombat fan, but MKX was the best.
More like a mobile
to me, it was.
Game at times.
I actually really like that one a lot.
Designed in a way to force the player to spend.
I don't know, man.
This may
Hands
work
up.
in the mobile market where
Nemesis
children are logged into
system.
their mom's Apple account with a credit card.
They're not even using that. WB, how dare they?
Console and PC
Nemesis system, dude.
Not going to
anyway,
be as receptive to this. The real irony here.
I'm getting wrapped up on this because it is just like I'm passionate, man.
Content-rich battle pass, which was certainly worth the money. So if they had
content-rich,
cool, I think they
good
would
subtitle.
Have just fine. Instead, they desperately tried
the game could have went fine.
Any cent they could find,
but
as soon as
any
possible.
cent, I just felt like that.
Does this make for a worse gameplay experience? It pushes away new players and ensures that they will not only avoid spending money. But
this is why I popped off a Marvel Snap.
Attracting new players, this was one of the biggest elements.
Trying to keep current players versus getting new players. Yikes.
Right. The final release was a pretty great
experience. Love patent something they never use and keep it out of their hands. What innovation. Yeah.
Extensively.
Bandai did the same thing with mini games and loading screens, by the way. Like, you couldn't do mini games and loading screens. Like, that wasn't like, that's like thing that you weren't allowed to do because of Tekken and like the Galaga in between loading screens and stuff. Now that doesn't matter at this point though, because there are no loading screens. Loading is obsolete. That is not a thing anymore. But yeah.
You even got the Season 1 Battle Pass for free. And
that was definitely a thing that at the time would have been very helpful and nice
cover the cost of the next
when loading was actually prevalent in games.
So for a beta player like myself,
I
never even had to buy.
This is what I told you. This is what I was talking before. As a beta player, I didn't feel like the monetization was bad because I didn't have to buy a damn thing.
Single battle pass. Pretty sweet deal. And it was nice to see them give a benefit like this to their dedicated fans.
And that's why I got it.
Seemed to consider the experience of a new.
That's why I got it at the time, because I knew it was like a good deal. Because I didn't have to pay a cent for this game at all, because I paid the initial cost, like the Founders Pack, which made me not have to pay any extra.
The beta had some very dedicated players, no doubt.
It did.
But let's not forget
I was one of them.
Player count got so
I loved that thing.
It had to be shut down. They essentially built an experience that was great for the couple thousand people who had hung on to the beta, while ignoring the
this is like actually nuts. Nuts. That's my favorite word.
With
nuts.
Progression and unlock systems that moved at a snail's pace, it seemed almost impossible to
copyright patent laws gotten far out of hand. Nintendo, Pocket Pair,
or spending money. There's a reason why games like Marvel Rivals and Overwatch 2 have gone the route of giving all new characters for free. No one likes to feel left out. And while this fear of missing out may be
that's probably a good reason why the games aren't doing like that terrible either.
On top of each other,
3 characters.
It becomes way too overwhelming for someone trying to
Overwatch 2 mentioned.
MultiVersus.
Yeah, Overwatch 2 mentioned. I know. I think they're coming back though. I have not popped on Overwatch 2 in the longest time, but I think they might be. I think they're on their way back. I think they're figuring it out. But yeah,
I would argue their attempted fix, Fighter's Road, actually made things even worse. It goes back
especially
to
for
our
new
Raven
players.
Example. Think about how many players may have stuck around and probably even spent money if they had just been able to play the character they wanted right away.
Yeah, I've never done Stadium, but I've seen a little bit of gameplay. It looks cool.
Explore making all characters free before the shutdown.
Exactly what comes exactly.
The monetization
now, MultiVersus though,
yikes! Really just the cherry on top. The crux of the issue was that MultiVersus never quite found its foothold in the gaming space.
It was like everywhere.
It was never polished.
It had too many ideas, and it didn't know what they were doing.
But its
it was too everywhere.
Roadblocks stopped it from ever being played casually either. What this meant was that the typical MultiVersus player was just simply someone who already.
I might have to re-download it then.
They were never able to pull in anyone else. And in the end, although the MultiVersus community was quite passionate, it just simply wasn't large enough to hold the game up on its own. If there is one final takeaway,
let's see what this final takeaway is, though, real quick.
Is a lesson to
because I need to know,
and more so game publishers, to
that sounds really badass.
Before trying to milk them for all.
We're reacting to this video. I gotta focus up. But like Heike, I feel like he's saying what we've been saying this whole time at this point.
Would have come through other means. I genuinely think that
Ben 10 was featured on a piece of in-game artwork when it launched and never got added. Really? Ben 10 was really. No, you're good, Wickums. Really, Raid Boss? Really? Huh. You remember this? Hold up. I'm gonna look this up real quick before like I fully end. Ben 10 MultiVersus game. It's showing me Omniverse because it thinks I'm in Omniverse. Somebody says, I think Ben 10 will be released in MultiVersus in 2025. Oh, snap. Yeah. Was it in... Where was it? Okay, I don't see it. I'm imagining it was in one of these, but I can't find it. But apparently that was the thing. Okay, I'll just believe you. You know what? I'll just be like, you know what? Source, trust me. Ben could have been in the game, Sag. Ben could have been in the game. I love Ben 10.
And progression system
He was in a collage image with other characters. I see.
It really upsets me, honestly, because MultiVersus was a ton of
Dude,
fun.
Ben 10 would have been hype.
So much potential for new characters
Ben 10 would have been
and
hype.
IPs to explore. Maybe in another universe.
I'm just imagining like all of his like smash moves, like side smash or something. He transforms into somebody who does like a big punch, maybe like fire breathing. His up smash could be like essentially all of his like different ones could be different aliens transforming. Like that's so cool to think about.
Finally playing as Mordecai from regular show,
Mordecai and Rigby,
Duck, or Scooby-Doo, alongside a massive fan base that loved the game. Instead, MultiVersus will go down in infamy.
Ben 10,000,
platform fighter that somehow managed to die twice. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
The game died twice, bro. It's offline now too.
Please leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton.
Yeah.
You played MultiVersus.
No, this was a wonderful video.
About your experience in the comments below.
Obviously, I got very passionate just talking about this because, yeah, that's how you know this is a good video because I actually felt things that big. So we're gonna leave a like. Remember, ZackLillipad. Thank you for this MultiVersus video. That was fantastical.